Hey everyone, just so you know, the following video is a clip from a show I actually do on AFTV. The full link for the video is in the description below. Thank you for your continued support, really appreciate it. I wanted to talk about Mikel Arteta and this quote I found very interesting. Because you talk about Newcastle, there are loads of those players were over 6 foot. We know the power. They remind me of Liverpool in the last 5-6 years under Klopp. They're the 4-3-3, very physical midfielders. They kind of overwhelm you. Now, this is what Arteta said on Sky about Jorginho. He said, I think he was the man of the match. I agree, Mikel. There were question marks because it was going to be really physical. But if you want to go physicality versus physicality, we have no chance to win the game. So we had to try for something different. What he's essentially said there is, well, we could have played Partey. Actually, maybe Rob Holding. We did a lot of deep block defending. Maybe they'd be suited for that kind of game. But he went, if we're going to win this game, there's no point trying to level ourselves up to be a better version of what they do well so that we can go head to head with it. Let's just do what we do, but better. And I think the bringing in of Jorginho and Kiwior was massive. Now, very unprofessional of me, I'm going to look at my notes because I want to make sure I get this all in the right order. But let's talk about Jorginho and his stats. This is why he was so impressive. An 83% pass accuracy, 70 touches, 10 final third entries, 9 ball recoveries, 7 ground duels won, 2 key passes and 3 tackles won as well. He played all 90 minutes. So as well as he did his attacking, he's on the ball, all that, he was very good defensively as well, Graham.
Yeah, so very positionally assured. I think what he offers the team is, you talked about the control, the composure. I think he's somebody who's really comfortable when he's pressed. So when we're sort of like dropping into a deep block, or we're trying to play out, and he gets to receive the ball off a centre half, or he's going to receive the ball short. When he's pressed, he's somebody who's very press resistant, and he's somebody who can sort of take the ball comfortably, and he always makes the right pass. You're going to make a great comparison today between Partey and Holding and him and Kiwior. They were always looking to sort of like get on the ball, control the tempo, but play forward. And that's what we've lacked over the last few weeks. He offered the team real stability yesterday. And I admit, I was a bit like you. I thought Partey would play for the physicality. I still think we had to win our duels, though, and we did win our duels all over the pitch in this game, possibly apart from Zinchenko was having some trouble with Murphy, which is why he was hooked at the start of the second half. But also, not only were we sort of brave on the ball and technically good, with Jorginho controlling the tempo, I thought we matched them in the duels. And although Arteta talked about we couldn't match them in the physicality, I thought we did that. I thought we won most of our duels all across the pitch.
I completely agree. Gary Neville compared him to Paul Scholes, and that kind of very rare player that's able to control a game via their calm and composure. I learned something about Jorginho yesterday, everyone. I learned that. I've heard Kukurea say it, the day we signed Jorginho. I've heard other players over the years say that Jorginho is one of the most technically gifted players they've ever played with, if not the most technically gifted or the most intelligent. And I'll be honest, I've always appreciated how good he was on the ball, but I've always thought on a dead ball or passing technique or whatever, yeah, he's very good, but there's others who are very good. I wonder what makes him the best, and this is what I learned yesterday. It's not his ability to execute it, its ability to do it under pressure in really tight situations 100%. And maintain the composure to do it.
He's also a playmaker at number 6. That's the thing that people don't appreciate. There is probably, if you look at a weakness to his game, I know a lot of Chelsea fans will say probably pace is not his strongest asset. But he more than makes up with that in the way he reads the game and he positions himself. And he was excellent yesterday.
His reading the game's unbelievable. And I wanted to talk about this, the Kiwior and Jorginho impact. Now, what we've got here is their touches and passes in the Chelsea-Newcastle game that Kiwior and Jorginho started, and West Ham and Southampton for Holding and Partey. I thought it'd be unfair to include Man City because we were just so outclassed. But other games I think are slightly more comparable. Now, I think there's not too much to take from this other than, firstly, Jorginho and Kiwior saw far less of the ball. I wonder what that tells you. Maybe because Chelsea and Newcastle are better players, so there was slightly more respect for those oppositions. I don't know. But I think the big thing is the fact that Jorginho clearly 28 more passes than Kiwior, 25 or 24 more touches than Kiwior. In this game, there's not as much in it in terms of passes. Well, passes, there's 4 more passes for Partey, and touches, far more for, well, not far more, but more. But the numbers are a lot closer. I think it makes sense to me that you want Jorginho to have a lot more of the ball than your centre-back, Kiwior. You want your 6 to have it a lot more than your centre-back, especially when a Rob Holding isn't as good on the ball. And what we saw with this chance here, where is it, Martinelli chance, we saw how the team just benefited off their composure and what Arteta was saying about there's no point going physicality for physicality. We're going to play our football, we're going to outpass them. And this move, it's such a shame it didn't result in a goal because it is everything Arsenal have done brilliantly this season. Here's the team. Now, not everyone's perfectly in their position, but from the defenders, yes. Now, Ramsdale's got the free kick that's won by Jorginho. He gives it to Kiwior, straight to Ramsdale. Ramsdale takes a touch, back to Gabriel. Now they're pressing. Isaac's come all the way across. They think they've got us in a really good position here, Newcastle. But Arsenal are so calm. Xhaka and Jorginho, rather than just sprinting over to try and give an option, or Gabriel thinking, oh no, I'm swarmed, let me just go along to Martinelli where the space is behind. He goes, okay, fine. We'll give it into Zinchenko. Zinchenko's going to just take a little touch. Xhaka, recognising there's no pass on, decides to move out. Martinelli's going to come in, and Jorginho reads that there's an option for him to receive it. Gives it back to Gabriel, and everyone's moved around, but we're back in the same position. What's happened here, though, is that because of the movement and the composure, the pieces are getting pulled apart. Isaac's dropped in to cover because it didn't quite work for him, so Willock's having to come into the front 3 to press. Joe Linton's gone all the way to Zinchenko, so there's a little bit more open space in this area of the pitch, and Gabriel just threads it into Granit Xhaka, and at that point, we're out. The Arsenal players know we are out. They get it. It's a bit of a heavy touch from Xhaka, but he does well because it was a heavy pass. Gives it to Ødegaard. I mean, I wish I could do justice to this little touch and roll into Ben White from Ødegaard. But Arsenal playing out. Now, I think Ben White actually gets it wrong here. I think he should release Saka earlier. In fairness, Saka is further up the pitch. But he carries us forward. Takes a touch and comes back. Ødegaard rolls it into Kiwior. And now this bit's massive. And this is where your composure on the ball. We showed it with Jorginho back into Gabriel. And we see it now with Kiwior. That is a very easy pass to Gabriel. He's in loads of space. Murphy's dropped all the way back in to cover. Jesus has pulled wide. He could easily just give it to Gabriel. He can open up, and we've got them in a position we sustain a little bit of possession. But because he's so composed, he just drills it into Zinchenko. Ødegaard, who had played the pass to Kiwior, recognises he can drive in. We've got that overload, that box. And then it just goes into Ødegaard, who then threads it into Martinelli. And I think Martinelli should do better. But that whole move, I think, showed you everything Arteta meant in terms of we're going to just play our football and play around them, everything you said as well. But it also shows you what Jorginho and Kiwior brought us in terms of composure. Yes, they stood up to the physical battle by being there and reading the game well and using the physicality they have to a degree. But really, it's the way Newcastle just, I think they lost faith in their press because Arsenal just played around it so brilliantly. Yeah,
the move definitely deserved a goal, didn't it? It was a fantastic passing movement, which I think you brilliantly recreated there. Really enjoyed watching it again, even on the tactical page.
I know,
as much as I enjoyed watching it yesterday. Unfortunately, Gabriel Martinelli couldn't put it away. Deserved the goal. But everything you've talked about with Kiwior and Jorginho in build-up was exemplified in that movement. I thought the whole team, you know, once we sort of like got through that first 15 minutes, we quietened the crowd and Newcastle hadn't sort of like struck early. I thought as we started to look technically better on the ball, I thought they lost a little bit of heart and they sat off us a little bit. When they pressed, I didn't think they pressed as wholeheartedly as they did at the start. And we started to sort of, our greater technical ability shone through. And I thought that was the difference between the two teams yesterday. I think we were slightly had the better technical ability and we were brave. And this move exemplified the bravery, James.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think some of these numbers just tell you, so much about modern football. Because let's make no mistake about this, okay? Arsenal weren't on top, as we've shown in some of the numbers, they weren't on top the full game. Newcastle threw a lot at us. Yet, the pass completion numbers are in favour of the defenders. Zinchenko came off with 90% pass completion. Gabriel, 87. Kiwior, 86. We talk about Newcastle pressing, trying to make it difficult for us. But they showed composure at the heart of the chaos. They were still receiving the ball. They were still having to mix up between going long and going short. But they had Newcastle coming at them with a really loud St James's Park. But the picture of composure, White in there, Jorginho too. And then the most duels came from your front three. And then your midfield three, which again shows that Arsenal wanted to engage up the pitch. It wasn't just the defenders and the last line of defence having to do the engaging with Newcastle. We challenged them all over the pitch. So for all Arsenal to dig in and show a different side, so much of it was about Arsenal's principles that they've shown all season.